Are you ready? I'm ready. This is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, and you're listening to the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast, number 9. And today we're going to talk about your dream killer. That's right. We're talking about mediocrity, that thing that tends to get in the way of your dreams, your future, might even annoy you without you even really knowing about it. But mediocrity is that thing that we find with comfort zones, we find with this is good enough, we find with others even saying, I'm happy with the way things are. I'm happy with the fact that we don't need to change things. And I believe you would agree with me that the world is changing around us. And sometimes it's changing daily, even hourly. And how could we not change the way we do business? How could we not change how we attract new customers? How could we not change how we go about creating more revenue for our business? Because I'm sure many of you have other goals and aspirations, whether they be, I just want more income. It might be that I want to retire earlier. It might be that you want to do better for your team. And with that in mind, I like to draw a lot of this back to things that I gravitate towards. And ever since I was a little kid, I gravitate towards the underdog. I gravitate towards people who do things that are just unexpected or what may have been seemingly impossible at one time. And, it's funny, I've seen this quote floating around. It's an old quote, but it gets used quite a bit, but there's a lot of truth to it in a sense that things seem impossible until someone does it. And, when I think back and just using 3 examples, just 3 off the top of my head right now. Remember that guy, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, used to be a wrestler, this is a guy that used to prance around inside of a ring, throw other guys around, do a lot of really good acting. And then he turned that into an acting career. And then he turned that into something where he's part of an advertisement campaign for products and things like that. I mean, he's turned it into other things other than just wrestling. And the guy makes bank now. And, that's just his career. And then you think about his fitness, and he has never given up on that. And you might consider that to be part of his shtick or who he is, but I think it does go hand in hand. Another one, actually, and many of you know if you've followed me at all, would be the Navy SEALs. And there are countless examples of Navy SEALs. One that I've been a little bit gravitated to a little bit more here recently has been David Goggins. And here's a guy who goes out and runs 200-mile marathons all by himself. This was a guy that before or when he decided to become a Navy SEAL, he weighed 300 pounds. This is a guy who at one time had the world record for the most number of pull-ups at over 4,000 in 24 hours. Again, those are things that you would say, impossible, not going to happen. But yet, here he did it. And here's another one that I think is really fun, and I was never really a big fan of the show Fear Factor. I'm not a big fan of just showy, in-your-face, made-for-TV stuff. But that show was hosted by Joe Rogan. And over the years, if you've really followed Joe Rogan, here's a guy that, and I don't really know what he did before Fear Factor, but I do know that over the years that he has practiced jiu-jitsu, he works out daily, he is a workout fiend. And, here's a guy that took his Fear Factor career, and he now has a podcast. He has been a commentator for the UFC. He has been a stand-up comedian. And I would believe that a lot of those things go hand in hand. I would believe a lot of those things probably have helped parlay the other. But all those things have built up. And this guy literally just was offered $100 million. That's right, kids. $100 million to move his podcast to a different platform, away from YouTube. So when you, again, go back and you think about challenging mediocrity, and when you think about things are impossible, Imagine if you set a goal for yourself that's not just ask for 9 yards. Ask for something that's further than what you think you can do. What if you only make it to 6? If you set these crazy, insane goals, whether you build homes, you're a practitioner, you are a real estate agent, it doesn't matter what it is. Set some crazy, insane goal. What if you only make it 3/4 of the way? You've probably gone that much further than what you thought you could do. Think about that. I mean, imagine if you're a real estate agent, you said, I'm going to do $20 million all by myself. Oops, I missed my goal. I only did $15 million. What a bad year that was. What if you're a practitioner and you say, I want to do $3 million in revenue, and you fall short at only $2.2 million? Again, not a bad year. This is the kind of thing, if you push yourself, if you push your team, we need to see how far we can go. That's one of the shortcomings, I would say, for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of team members, is we really just don't see how far can we go. And that's really challenging the mediocrity. It's that thing of challenging the comfort zone that you hear people talk about a lot of times. We know that your competition's doing it. Some of them have to do it. Some of them may have to do it because they can't afford to pay the bills. Some of them may be doing it because they've got something else going on. Maybe some other competitor of theirs is pressing their buttons and they're having to up their game. You have to constantly up your game 100% of the time. So my question to you is, what are you going to challenge this week? What mediocrity do you see around you? What mediocrity do you see that's holding you back from your goals? And whether it's your habits, your team's habits, or the fact that we have accepted status quo in our business. What are you going to challenge this week, next month, and throughout the rest of this year that's going to get you to your goal? What goal are you going to set that's going to be some crazy, hairy, audacious goal that's going to push you to exceed whatever expectation that you had for yourself? So that, my friends, is Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast number 9. As always, if you have questions, leave me a comment, send me a message. Very much looking forward to talking to you, but I'm really interested in bringing you Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast number 10, because we're going to talk about making those tough decisions.